You guys, interest rates are back up. Doesn't look like we're going to see a crash anytime soon, and prices are staying high. So, what does that mean for you as a real estate investor? Are you able to buy properties in your area? Do you have to now finally consider maybe going out of state? Today, I want to talk to you about three factors that you need to consider if you are considering the option of buying long term rental properties out of state. The first factor is landlord friendly states. Now, if you were to start a business in any state in the entire country, would you start a business in a state that already hates you? Would you start a business in a state that already doesn't want you there and makes it difficult for you to succeed? No, you likely would not. So that whittles down the available states very quickly. A rule of thumb, unfortunately, is red states, Republican states, are more landlord friendly and provide owners with more rights than tenants than the blue Democratic states. Purple states, I have found, like Wisconsin and Colorado, have okay laws depending upon where in the state. So you may need a little bit more research done on those specific cities in those states before you start buying long-term rental properties there. But the rule of thumb would be if you have no affinity to any certain area in the country and you want to narrow down all 50 states, you can start narrowing your search down by honing in more on the red states. So landlord friendliness to me is one of the most important factors when choosing a profitable area that you want to spend your hard-earned money in. The next one is property taxes. Now, property taxes will directly affect your bottom line, even when you have your property paid off in the end, right? So, knowing what the property tax rates are for the state, the effective property tax rates, how often property values are reanalyzed, right? Reassessed, how often are you getting a new tax bill is important to know too. It's not a deal breaker. For example, Ohio has pretty high property taxes, but it still cash flows. So it just means you want to be aware of what before you invest there. Um, on the other side, Ohio has high property taxes in it if cash flows, right? But Texas doesn't. Texas has very high property taxes as well, and it's very hard to cash flow in Texas. In Texas, properties are reassessed every single year. So if the market is going up and your property values are increasing, so are your property tax bills. So you have to think, what other things are increasing on a regular basis? Well, your home insurance, just like health insurance, home insurance goes up every single year, doesn't it? So that means your rents have to outpace two things: property taxes and home insurance, not to mention just regular old inflation and your contractors and your yard guys charging you more for services over time, and materials also increase with inflation. So when you're looking to find a market that has cash flow potential, you have to keep in mind the things that are consistently going to be increasing over time. Property taxes are a big one. So make sure you keep that in mind. Now, the third one, and for me, this is a non negotiable. If you're looking for a market that has cash flow potential and you're open to anywhere in the country that has cash flow, and you've already narrowed it down by landlord friendly states, you're aware of the property tax rates and how often they're reassessed and all that jazz. The next thing is, well, there has to be properties that are actually going to cash flow. You need potential properties that have cash flow potential. So if you're looking, let's say, in Orange County, California, because that's where you want to invest, is there going to be cash flow there? The short answer is really no, there's not. So, how do you determine if an area has cash flow potential, with everything else being equal, or we're not talking about other criteria? Cash flow is the only criteria. A quick way to determine that is to go into realtor.com, type in your city name, the major metro area, and then put max purchase price $200,000 and see how many properties come up. Even if you want multifamily, just put single family, get rid of land and all that, get rid of condos, and let's just look how many properties are under $200,000. Well, I'm sure you can imagine, and many of you may be shaking your heads right now, that there are no properties near you, right, that are under 200,000, and you're probably right. The majority of the western part of the United States does not have cash flowing properties. Is what it is. That means you're going to be looking at the flyover states. Middle America and even the East Coast has some pretty nice cash flowing properties. Even New Jersey cash flows, even with their high property taxes, which is why property taxes isn't always the ultimate determining factor of whether you invest in an area or not. Property taxes isn't it, but it is something you do need to be aware of. So when you're doing your search and you're looking in your major metro market for properties that might have cash flow potential, you want to see how many properties there are available on dollars. If there are several hundred properties, the more properties, the better the chance you have of landing a cash flowing property. So, those are my 3 tips. If you're looking out of state to buy your first rental property or your next rental property and you want to find a good market, you need to be aware of the landlord friendliness, property tax rates, and if there's even a chance, hell, that there's going to be properties available that will cash flow. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry Mako wasn't here today, but I'm camping and there's no cell service. But if you'd like to reach out to me, you can do so on Instagram, Brick by Brick Wealth, and you can watch my weekly YouTube videos, Brick by Brick Wealth. Adios.